I really hope you're somebody that's equally excited to find out about extremely niche and indie games that really try to be unique and completely different from every other game on the market, because boy do I have the game recommendation for you today. Lab of the Blind Gods is quite a niche FPS. In fact, it's more or less an experimental dive into the concept of an FPS game with the main core feature removed, that being actual visuals. Sadly, this game really did not do all that well, as it's one of the most underrated games that I've come across when it comes to indie games. I'm sure you're familiar with the old YouTube video regarding the virtual barbershop.
Cetera. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for stopping by the Starkey Virtual Barbershop.
So go ahead and do me a huge favor and close your eyes for a little and focus on the sound specifically with the stereo headset. This game is not meant to be played any other way. The concept of a game without visuals is very weird at first, but when looked into a little bit more with acceptance of a unique concept, that kind of works in a weird way, given that the idea here is to focus solely on expanding the senses, which in this case would be the utilization of sounds and directional inputs.
The door straight and to the left, where that flickering sound comes from. Either we fight the guard, or we stealth around him.
That is how you will be exploring the world here. Initially, you play as a child with their mother and their annoying sibling, on their way out one day in their mother's car. Unfortunately, they collide with a transport truck, killing everybody except the player character. Eventually, a man finds you and takes you to the hospital.
Are you... Oh, shit, that's brutal. You... Tell me you're still breathing.
Where you are rebuilt by a type of mad scientist who grants you the ability to hear in stereo surround, upgrades you with shields and weaponry, and then plans out a training regime to see just how close to God you can become. There is literally nothing that I can physically display for you here besides the banner, which does make this review a bit weird since the player's eyes must be closed to rely purely on the sounds to navigate this labyrinth of puzzles and enemies while following a rather humorous and dark story. All while trying to survive along the way with the assistance of a comrade and an AI that will both be a guide throughout the training while also providing some much needed exposition. With the use of snaps, whistles, footsteps, growls, and general conversation and atmospheric sounds, the goal here is to move throughout the labyrinth, shooting and sneaking your way through each level, eventually reaching the conclusion one way or the other. It's really an experience you have to hear for yourself. We did run into a single issue. I can definitely support the overall decision to try something new and to make it work rather well at times, but it always feels like once you get through the exciting parts of the game, the ending boss in particular just doesn't feel all that compelling or fun. This would be because it's a very confusing mash of sound effects that you have to drown out so you can focus on the right cues to get through it, which takes quite some time. When you hear the robotic dog lunging from the left, you turn to face that location and shoot. It dies, but then you hear so many cyborgs marching from all different sides.
Nice. Clean hit.
Drowning out everything else, which makes you unable to visualize anything or even to utilize your shield due to the dogs and also all of the lasers. You become very disorientated, which may have been the entire point of this final fight, and if that was the case, then it's done very well. But it certainly did not feel good to sit through compared to the rest of the game, which was very exciting and thrilling because it was something so new and interesting. This is an experimental take on a concept, so I can kind of overlook this, but it still did feel like it could have been better just due to how overwhelming the ending was after having a lot of fun with the rest of the game. Realistically, if you're able to grasp the final section of the game and how to move through it, the game will only take about 1 hour to complete thoroughly, and if you're the type of person that likes to seek out the achievements, that might easily turn into 2, 3, or even 4 hours. And don't worry, they will definitely make sure you know if you've missed one or not. So if you like trying unique and new things alongside popular games on occasion and you're not afraid of unique ideas, then Lab of the Blind Gods, while very frustrating at times, tells a very solid story with very silly and well done voice acting to pull you into a world that you have to visualize with sound to become the ultimate god. It's funny, entertaining, and does things fairly well.